people when the true path to success is finding who it is that you are. I think that's such a beautiful message. So we're going to go right into the next segment. We're going to actually have an informal conversation between CEOs, executive and managing directors. So will James and Giles please join me on stage?
Good morning. How are we today, CEO? Oh, wow, we sound really tired. Please, good morning. How are we today, CEO? Much better. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, I want to thank and really, I want everybody to give themselves a round of applause for being here this early. And I know that it's not super early, but it's a Saturday, and I know some of you went out last night, and this is our opportunity to connect with you in a one-on-one setting. So we hope that this is very much of a conversation. Giles and I have a few points that we want to touch on just to really give you an idea of what we do in our offices. Just by show of hands, who actually went to our office yesterday? Very cool. Did you like it? It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, nice. So I have a few questions for Giles. He has a few questions for me, but we ultimately want to open this up to the audience, our members, to really address any concerns that you have or any questions that you have and items that you want us to be doing more of. Our ultimate goal is to provide resources to you. That's our mission. We believe that we're providing you the necessary resources to spark innovation and concepts on your campus to really make a valuable impact and encourage your membership to launch ventures. And of course, all of that is not possible if we are not in good standing, if our organization is not concrete. So some of you may actually know and may not know that Giles is a full-time faculty member at the University of Tampa. He also serves as our executive director, and he is a lawyer in Ohio, or in Kentucky and Ohio. So he can't practice any law in Florida, but he has significant knowledge on the legal end of things. And Giles, when you assumed the position of executive director, you've been quietly strengthening the core of CEO back office operations. This function, while altogether not super visible to our membership, is of course very, very important. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done since you've taken your position?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing good. You know, I thought this was really important to have a conversation. You know, as an academic now, you know, I practiced law for many years. But in about 2000 or so, I started to teach, and I joined this organization called USASB, the United States Association of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and it's like this kind of group, but except it's for entrepreneurship faculty. And I never knew anything like what USASB was, and I didn't know what it was to be involved with it, and I just would go to a conference, and you know, I learned a lot at the conference, and I really enjoyed it. But I thought it would be really good this morning to share with you what I learned about organizations and what it takes to run organizations, and just so you guys know. And basically what you're seeing with CEO is sitting up here on the stage. It's primarily James and I, and we have our two interns. Camilla's an employee, and we have Omar and Robert as interns, and that pretty much is what it is. All of CEO is. You know, we took over CEO. When I say that, we brought the national headquarters from Chicago, where Jerry Hills, who you heard from on Friday morning, Jerry had founded and was based in Chicago, and we took over in about 2016. And boy, I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot about running a nonprofit. As an attorney, I represented nonprofits for many years, but I had no idea how involved it was to actually run one. So I thought it would be really good just to give you guys a little bit of an understanding of the back office stuff. And the reason I think it's important for you to understand is, you know, as a faculty member, I've been teaching entrepreneurship. I've had an entrepreneurial career in my life also, besides practicing law. But I've been teaching it for over 17 years now. And what I've discovered is that a lot of times with my students, they're really interested in understanding, you know, the customer experience, the front end, if I could, about the business. And that's the really exciting part. As an attorney, I represent a lot of folks, and someone would come in and they wanted to start a restaurant, and they would envision, the restaurant and the ambiance and a checkered tablecloth and, maybe someone in the corner playing a violin, but they often didn't think about the back office things, table turnover and food spoilage and in dealing with employees. And really, that's the most important part about running a business, but it's not the sexy part. And it's sort of the same thing with CEO, is there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that you don't get to see, but if we don't have, as James said, we don't have a solid organization, it's tough to produce the value for you all. So some of the things that I've been working on, and James and I have sort of divided up the task, and I tend to try to work on more of the back office operational activities, and James, as you can see, has done a fabulous job with the programmatic activities. But, simple things like when we actually are a Illinois corporation, so when Jerry founded the organization, it was founded as a 501c3 not-for-profit Illinois corporation, and we remained that. So what we actually had to do was we had to register the Illinois corporation to do business in Florida. So for your businesses, if you incorporate in one state and you want to do business in another, you have to get a certificate of authority to operate in that other state. So we had to take that on and get registered in Florida. We also had to develop new relationships with accounting firms and legal firms, because we are still in Illinois, and for reasons that are just too technical to go in today, we are going to stay an Illinois corporation, but we are registered to do business in Florida. So we have Illinois attorneys, we have Illinois accountants, we have Florida attorneys, and we have Florida accountants. So we had to establish those relationships as well, and of course those come with cost. And one of the things I hear a lot with my students in startup is, well, I don't want to spend the money on all of that right away. Well, I know I'm a bit biased on the attorney end, but I'll tell you what, you can't cut corners, especially with hiring a good accountant. And we've had to establish a good accounting relationship and strengthen the accounting function of the organization. And we've been really blessed that we have a woman named Ellie Roach that handles our financial administration. And she's really done a nice job of putting us on a good financial footing, but that's working with the accountants. And so if I could recommend anything for all of you and your startups is when you get started, make sure that you get a good accountant. I'm not talking about someone doing your books, but I'm talking about somebody to get your chart of accounts set up properly and get you on a solid footing financially. And we've been really blessed that we've found the good partners in our accountants and with Ellie, and she's really done a nice job with that. One of the things I wanted to mention is you've seen a lot of the University of Tampa here today, because the University of Tampa is one of our major, right now, our biggest sponsor. We are not affiliated with the University of Tampa other than the fact that we have our corporate headquarters there. The University of Tampa and President Vaughn, who you heard from yesterday, particularly President Vaughn, is very entrepreneurial. And if you've seen our center, you know his commitment to entrepreneurship. And he saw what the value of CEO brings to students. And he's all about student and giving value to students. And so he was very gracious, and we struck this deal, about 2 years ago, where we brought the headquarters there. And he has provided us space in the Loth Entrepreneurship Center on campus and facilities, the desks, the computers, phone access, copiers, all that stuff at no cost to us. And he's also committed almost $500,000 in direct cash funding. So CEO is an independent 501c3, not affiliated with any particular university, but we are grateful to our sponsors, and the University of Tampa has been a great sponsor. So that's why you tend to see a lot of the University of Tampa, the podium and other things up here, but we are based in Tampa. So I just wanted to point that out also, because I think that's necessary. And Jerry Hills had intended this to be an independent organization, not tied to any particular school, and I've followed through with Jerry's wishes with that. So we welcome any other school that wants to sponsor, and we'd be glad to show you some love like we've done with the University of Tampa. But going back to some of my points, so we've developed those relationships. We've also had to go back and strengthen our insurance coverage, and this is something that you're going to have to deal with your businesses. So we worked up our general liability policy, and we currently have $1 million in liability coverage. It's not enough. Last year when we were at the Embassy Suites, I know this is a horrible topic, but they had those open balconies, and I was just so nervous about our students with those open balconies 18 stories up. But that's the lawyer in me. But so we had to work on building our commercial insurance, and we also strengthened just took on D&O insurance. I don't know if you're familiar with that, directors and officers. This is something you're going to have to think about. If you incorporate your business and you want people to be involved on your board of directors, there's potential risk for them. And so D&O, or Directors and Officers Insurance, is something you might want to consider. We have $1 million coverage there. So in the event that our board or the organization is sued, that there's some coverage for people who are otherwise volunteering our time. Our board of directors, who you've had an opportunity to meet a few of them, are volunteers, and they volunteer with some potential risk. God forbid something were to happen at a conference or something else. And so the D&O insurance provides some coverage in the event that they're sued. And so, a lot of businesses, you may want to think about adding an indemnification clause into some of your organizational documents, and that would indemnify your board of directors. And that's, if I was somebody who's going to ask me to serve on their board of directors, I'd say, well, do you have indemnification? Indemnification is like reimbursement. I'm going to volunteer to work with you. I want to see you succeed, but I'm afraid there could be some potential risk, particularly with product-type businesses. And so do you have indemnification if I get sued? And you could say yes, but if you don't have that D&O insurance, there's no fund of money to pay for that. So we want to get the best volunteers, and I think we have some really great board of directors, but I want to make sure that when they volunteer that they feel safe in volunteering, and you should think about that as well. So we picked up the D&O insurance. I mentioned already that we strengthened our financial controls, and that's really important because we are a nonprofit organization. And if you're thinking of a social venture, I'll tell you what, I think what I've learned in the last, and again, as an attorney, I've represented many nonprofits, but now running one, running a nonprofit and doing the financials for a nonprofit is much more work than a for-profit business. So for people that are interested in social ventures, be prepared to maybe take a class if you can on nonprofit management, because James and I have been blown away by the amount of compliance that's required. Nonprofits have to file the IRS 990 form, and it's what, 20-something pages long, and a lot of work that just can't be done in a short period of time. And we want to make sure that our financial house is in order, because there's organizations out there like Charity Navigator that look at nonprofits and to make sure that, that their financial house is in order, that the amount of money that when people donate to your organization, that it's going to the purpose, not necessarily for administrative costs. So we want to make sure our financial house is in order. And the other reason that we want to do that is we need to raise additional funds to keep this organization going. The University of Tampa's commitment is a 5-year commitment. After that, we need to make sure that we have financial stability. The conference is, for the most part, fairly break even. And we do some of the things like you saw, the alley specialties, and we get a small percentage of those funds. But James and I, one of our major tasks is to go out and find people that are willing to contribute some money to help build our endowment. And one of my goals as executive director is to try to build an endowment of about $5 to $6 million, and I know that sounds like a lot of money, but you live off the interest of that, and it's not a lot. So that's one of the things I'm working on. So that's plenty of the back office stuff. I know that's not really what you're interested in hearing, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of some of that so you understand the things that go on, and when you run your business, some of the things that are not so sexy that you're going to have to deal with, but nonetheless necessary. So let me throw it over to James, and I'm going to ask James this question. James, as I mentioned in my welcoming remarks yesterday, one of the main goals we're focusing on at CEO headquarters is the cultivation of new CEO chapters and the development and maintenance of existing chapters, and the recruitment of new members and the continued engagement of our existing members. As I mentioned, the key to achieving those goals is most likely through the delivery of additional value to the chapters and to you all, our members. James, can you share with the audience a few of the programmatic activities that you've already put in place and that seem to be adding value to our members, and we hope that that's true, and then maybe you could also address some of the things that we're looking for in the future.
Of course, Giles. So just by show of hands, how many of you have a way to manage your membership? So you know all of the members that are currently active in your chapters. Raise them all the way up. Okay, so just an FYI, every hand in this audience should be up because we provide that to you. Did you know that? So our website, c-e-o.org, every single chapter has what we refer to as a master account, and we hold that with the faculty advisor. So your faculty advisor has the ability to log into the master account and issue what is called a chapter-specific link. So your student members can call us directly and say, hey, I'd like to register with CEO headquarters, and we can issue that link, or your faculty advisors can provide that to the chapter presidents and issue that accordingly. Once you've received that, you have a calendar of events. You can process registrations. You can build out a website under our domain. You can engage with one another in the community. You have access to the full membership directory. You have access to our jobs board. So CEO actually has an outside company selling job postings to our members. So they're actually calling on all the major corporations today and saying, hey, we have a network of 10,000 collegiate entrepreneurs. About 1,000 to 2,000 of those individuals graduate annually. Would you be interested in hiring an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur? And they say yes or no, and if they say yes, that job ends up on our board. So they are specifically curated for the types of positions and corporations that are looking for you. And of course, we want you to launch ventures, but it's very difficult to launch a venture until you have the necessary data points to really be an expert in the field in which you're trying to build your business. So there's nothing wrong with going to a corporation and being an entrepreneur and really kind of innovating there. So that jobs function is really a great resource to you. And there's actually live resume reviewing. So if you have a resume and you'd like to have it reviewed, you can upload that to the jobs board. A live individual will contact you with edits. They'll sit down with you and describe to you why they made those changes and how you can actually kind of better sell yourself in the future. The jobs site can be accessed from our website, but it also has a separate domain, jobs.c-e-o.org. So the website is really, it's our way of connecting to you throughout the year because we have such limited touch points. We have our global conference and our 5 regional events, which we hope you also consider attending. But this is a great way for you to stay connected over the year. A few other things that I wanted to discuss. On that platform, we have a full branding guide, a full email signature policy. Each and every one of our chapters has a chapter-specific logo, so you can access that as well. We have merchandise for your chapters, so because we have a specific logo, there's licensing and branding policies that go into that. So we do ask that you go through our licensed provider, Alley Specialties. They were out here yesterday. We have a news portal, so if something notable occurs on your campus, we of course have very strong national media relationships. So if that occurs, you can reach out to us directly, fill out the form, let us know if it's local news, national news, is this a student venture that's being launched? We want to know about that. We want to help push that out. And if you're not currently engaging on social media, we can do that for you as well. So we have a full social media guideline of what we can and cannot do on your behalf. We can actually establish channels for your organization and help you and kind of create that ecosystem of entrepreneurship. And what I really believe, and Giles, you can agree or disagree, but what I really believe a CEO chapter is the student entrepreneurial ecosystem on your campus. It's not all business students. It's anybody from any major that comes from an entrepreneurial family or just considers themselves an entrepreneur and wants to experience the next level of business. They want to experience that ownership. They want to make their own schedule. They want to live that highly intensive lifestyle that I think everybody in this room shares that energy as well. And today we really wanted to come up and chat with you about a lot of these resources because we know that not every one of you know that this is available. And ultimately, we've been there and we've done this. I was a CEO chapter leader, as Giles mentioned, a few times over the course of this conference. This is his 17th year involved with CEO as a faculty advisor at 2 different institutions. So we have a tremendous amount of knowledge, and ultimately we want to be available to you. So pick up the phone, call us if you have any challenges or questions regarding your chapter establishment. Maybe you don't have enough members coming to your meetings. Maybe you're struggling finding a speaker. We have kind of ways of solving that problem, and I'll address them right now. For example, if you're struggling finding a speaker, why not reach out to your alumni office on your campus and connect with successful entrepreneurs there? That's a great fundraising opportunity for your chapter. Maybe you actually take a tour of this alumni's business. If you are really struggling with engagement, listen, this can't be all business all the time. You're a social group of students that want to be entrepreneurs. So socials are really, really important. You have to do fun things as well. So those are just a few ways that we can kind of coach you in the right direction to make sure that your chapter is on track and that you are creating as large of an impact that I know that each and every one of you want to create. One more thing that I think is just really notable. Since our inception, CEO has impacted over 500 different universities and colleges, and there's a full listing of those institutions on our website. But we want to do more. Our goal is to continue to grow this organization leaps and bounds forward in way of creating an alumni network, in way of engaging with other organizations, really building up this conference to reach that next level of value and engagement, expanding our attendance, expanding our reach. But since November of 2016, ready for this figure? Since November of 2016, 96 universities have come to CEO. We don't do any outreach. 96 universities have come to us and said, we want to be a CEO chapter. And we've successfully onboarded 43 of those institutions. That is a very large number. And it's a long process to onboard. We have a full chapter establishment guide, a full initiation program, a planning guide throughout the year, and then we go through elections. It's a 5 or 6 step process to make sure that the chapter that we launch on your campus and on our subsidiary campuses is going to be successful, and it's going to...
James?
Okay.
I love doing that.
He usually goes tick, 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 tick.
Giving me the hook. As a faculty member, you know, we could talk forever, and I probably talked a little bit long, and you probably would have liked to hear more from James. But we are on time, and I'm going to be out in the hall. If any of you guys want to talk and give us some suggestions, I told you yesterday we're going to have that survey. Please do fill that out, because we value your opinion, and we want to give you the value that you want. So, James, I'm going to be out there on the side. If anybody wants to talk afterwards, we're going to be out there, and I know the other sessions start now, too.
Yes, that's right. And Bert?
Thank you. Another round of applause for James and Giles. Appreciate that. All right, we're about to break you off for the concurrent sessions, but before we do that, I want to give away some prizes because that's how I'm feeling right now, all right? So first of all, this is what I need to do. Make sure everybody's energy is still good. Turn to the person